on that. Lows tonight, mid-60s. Tomorrow, we're back up to 84. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Carson.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Really great to have you along this morning. I appreciate it. We're just getting ready to take place here, so here we go.
The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio. Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the Greg.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's really great to have you along this morning. So Donald Trump yesterday said he was speaking. He was talking about the threats that he's been facing, and he said he was in Flint, Michigan, and he said, "You wonder why I get shot at, right? You know, only consequential presidents get shot at, right?" Trump said. This was his first official campaign stop since the second attempt on his life, which occurred over the weekend. And Trump said, "It's a dangerous business. However, being president, it's a little bit dangerous. You know, they think race car driving is dangerous. No, they think bull riding. That's pretty scary, right? No, this is a dangerous business, and we have to keep it safe," Trump said. So those comments are really, and they're trending this morning. Trump said, "I'll say this for Michigan. If I don't win, you will have no auto industry within 2 to 3 years. China is going to take over all your business because of the electric car and because they have the material we don't," Trump said. So those were among the comments that Donald Trump shared. He also shared a little more detail about the assassination attempt then on Sunday. And Trump, once again, has been pretty typical of Donald Trump, praised Secret Service agents then who spotted the suspect in the bushes. And Trump then said of the shooter that he took off running after he was spotted and fired at by a Secret Service agent. And Trump said he believed 4 shots that he heard, he believes. And Trump said a woman spotted the man running. She started following him because she thought he was trouble. He looked different, like trouble. She followed him and parked the car behind his car, started taking pictures of his license plate, Trump said. Who would do that? She saw something in this guy that was bad. And Trump said, if you took 1,000 of these incidents, would even one person do it? He's talking about taking the pictures, stopping and taking the pictures. Would even one person do it? She sends pictures to the sheriff's office. They were able to get this guy within 10 minutes in a high-speed chase. She was really amazing, Trump said. So sharing a few more details in terms of what transpired then on Sunday. And Trump said Secret Service did a hell of a job in spotting him because they happened to see the barrel of a gun protruding from the bushes. And Trump then talked about the need for more Secret Service. He said they do need more people. They've been complaining about that for a long time, but they did a great job, he said. He also talked about the fact that he had received a call from Kamala Harris. And he said, I got a call from Kamala today. It was very nice. He said she couldn't have been nicer. And then Trump repeated again, it's dangerous business being president, Trump said. Also, there's a story at Newsmax this morning. A couple of former Secret Service agents were telling Newsmax that this latest attempt on Donald Trump's life shows that it is time to clean house at the Secret Service and replace the leadership of the agency. And they said of the agents, they said, these guys are fantastic agents and they're doing everything they can, even at their own lives' risks, to go out there and do this every day. They deserve better leadership. Well, we're told that the Secret Service has corrected it. We've applied all the appropriate resources. We ought to be able to take that to the bank. That didn't happen. Talking about this now with the second attempt on Donald Trump's life here a month later. And that Secret Service had said, okay, we've corrected this. This is not going to happen again, right? And it did happen. And so this is Tim Miller. He's a former Secret Service agent. Miller says, I think the American people become more and more concerned about the ability of the mission. And that's what this is all about. It's the mission of the Secret Service to proactively prevent things like this from even happening, not waiting till the last minute and doing things that are reactive in nature, he said. So again, two Secret Service agents who were on Newsmax. The other was Scott Bryson. He said that Secret Service leadership needs to be 100% cleaned out at the highest levels. He said, this is a serious job for serious people. I've worked for some guys in the past that were super old school, and I didn't like it at the time when I was a young agent. But now that I'm an older guy, I get it. I understand where they were coming from. There's a standard. And whether it's whether it's Secret Service, FBI, or the police academy, there has to be a certain standard. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, straight or gay. The standard is the standard. If you meet the standard, you're on the team. If you don't, you're out, he said. And they said, Miller said, the gloves need to come off. This was another mission failure. Were it not for the heroic actions of a diligent, qualified, trained Secret Service agent to identify and go after this protectee, we would be having a very different conversation. But again, why weren't the resources applied? So those are the comments of a couple of Secret Service agents on Newsmax yesterday. Now, also, the Secret Service earlier this week, the acting director of the Secret Service said on Monday that agents neglected to search the perimeter of the golf course before Trump started playing golf, because apparently that wasn't on the itinerary. Donald Trump, according to the Secret Service, Donald Trump wasn't scheduled to play golf. So they didn't know that Donald Trump was going to be out on the golf course. And this is, according to the New York Post, Rowe told reporters the president wasn't even really supposed to go there. It was not on his official schedule. And so we put together a security plan, and that security plan worked, he said. And again, the shooter was apprehended. As you know, we talked about that at length yesterday. The last few days, actually, we're learning more about this. So he did not explain whether an off-the-record event on the president's itinerary means that agents then, the question is, why wasn't that area searched? Why wasn't the area searched? And so again, what Rose seems to be saying is, well, it wasn't on Trump's official schedule, therefore it wasn't searched. It's what he seemed to be hinting at the other day. Senator J.D. Vance talked about, and you and I discussed this yesterday, the whole conversation about Donald Trump needing to reduce, lessen his rhetoric, and it's Donald Trump who's to blame for these repeated assassination attempts against him, which is just nonsense, I think, for many of us. And Senator J.D. Vance certainly, he spoke about this yesterday. He said, don't lecture Donald Trump about softening his rhetoric after 2 people tried to kill him. It's ridiculous, he said. And he said what we talked about yesterday, what Trump has been saying. He believed the rhetoric. Now, this is J.D. Vance. Or excuse me. The way these stories are written, suddenly it's comments from Trump. And I've shared those with you. But Vance yesterday, that's pretty much the heart of what he said. Don't lecture Donald Trump about softening his rhetoric after 2 people tried to kill him. It's ridiculous. The Senator Rand Paul was also on Newsmax yesterday. He said that left-wing media outlets such as MSNBC and CNN need to stop inciting political violence. He said the problem is that the left has become so self-righteous about this that they have justified in their mind that he is somehow so evil. Even though normally they're not violent and normally they love everyone and they have heart emojis next to their name on their Twitter handle, but this time is an exception because Donald Trump is an existential threat. So they're parroting exactly what the Harris and Biden campaigns say. They're parroting CNN and MSNBC. They want to be responsible people. They don't want to have a death on their hands. These left-wing outlets need to stop inciting crazy, violent people in our country. It's time that it ends. And we need to call them out because they immediately then blame the victim for the problem. They're blaming Donald Trump for his own assassination. They're encouraging angry and emotionally unstable people to commit violence, and they need to stop. So that was Senator Rand Paul. More on that in a moment, coming from Elon Musk. Interesting comments that Elon Musk has made. I'll tell you about that in a moment. Also, Senator Richard Blumenthal. Remember, Blumenthal's a Democrat from Connecticut. He's leading the probe into now 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump. And Blumenthal is threatening to use subpoena power to force the Department of Homeland Security to stop stonewalling the committee. And he said that DHS has been stonewalling. And he said the Biden-Harris department then is almost derelict in its duty by resisting our request for documents, evidence, and information that are necessary to investigate. We may need to require more cooperation from them, and we have the power to do so through the compulsory process. In other words, subpoena power, he told Just the News yesterday. So Blumenthal has said, you'll remember that the subcommittee's report on the first assassination attempt is going to shock and appall Americans, he told Fox News. I think the American people are going to be shocked, astonished, and appalled by what we will report to them about the failures of the Secret Service. I have no doubt that'll be the case. Also, Peter Doocy over at Fox News Channel, who is the White House correspondent for Fox News, had a conversation with the White House press secretary. We're talking about Karine Jean-Pierre over at the Ministry of Truth. And Ducey pointed to comments that Jean-Pierre had made describing Trump as a threat at the briefing yesterday. And Ducey said, it's been only 2 days since somebody allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again, and you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat. How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat? That was the question by Peter Ducey. And Karine Jean-Pierre just got furious. She just went off the deep end. She serves up a word salad, which is pretty common for her. She said, Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question. The question that you're asking, it is also incredibly dangerous in the way that you're asking it. Okay. Oh, it's an incredibly dangerous question, is it? How'd you like to be Donald Trump? That's a man who's facing incredible danger. The idea that somebody, an incredibly dangerous question is being asked in the White House briefing room. She said, because the reason it's dangerous because the American people are watching, and to say that from an administration that has consistently condemned political violence, from an administration where the president called the former president, was thankful, grateful that he was okay, from an administration who was called out January 6th, called out the attack on Paul Pelosi, called out and said we need to lower the temperature after the Butler incident. And now for you to make that kind of comment in your question, she says, that is incredibly dangerous. When we have been very clear about condemning political violence from here. So she's outraged at Peter Ducey because he asked a question. And again, she's not hearing the question. She's not hearing it. Just absolutely refusing to acknowledge what it is that he's saying. You continue to call Donald, the terminology that the White House uses. Yeah, has the president done those things? Yes, he has. Absolutely, he has. And at the same time, they're not changing their language. You're not seeing Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris locking hands and saying, well, we really got to reduce the temperature in the country. Elon Musk is standing by comments that he made. It's a post that he made on X that he has since deleted. He was asked about it. He said, hours after Donald Trump was the target of a second assassination attempt, Elon Musk said he wondered why no one is even trying to assassinate Biden, Kamala. And he was asked about this by the Washington Examiner yesterday. And he responded in a message. He said, my point is that over the course of 4 years in power, no one has tried to assassinate Biden or Kamala, and no one will, because they are just puppets of the system and will simply be replaced by another puppet who reads what's on the teleprompter, Musk said. He said Trump was different than Biden or Harris because he's not a puppet who could just be replaced. So the Secret Service then actually even responded then to this comment by Elon Musk. And they said the U.S. Secret Service is aware of the social media posts made by Elon Musk. And as a matter of practice, we do not comment on matters involving protective intelligence. But again, the point that Elon Musk was making, I think, well, I'll leave it to you to decide. The J.D. Vance said something similar. No one's even trying to assassinate Biden Kamala during a speech that he gave. And he said, I know it's popular on a lot of corners of the left to say that we have a both sides problem. And I'm not going to say we're always perfect. I'm not going to say that conservatives always get things exactly right. But the big difference between conservatives and liberals is that no one has tried to kill Kamala Harris in the last couple of months. And 2 people now have tried to kill Donald Trump in the last couple of months. Yeah. Pretty crazy. Also coming up this morning, the one of the big stories is Sean Diddy Combs and his arrest on sex crimes in New York City. He was denied bail, and the judge said there were no conditions that she could impose on Sean Diddy Combs, so no bail. He is pled not guilty, and it's just the his attorney is out there saying the usual thing. Oh, he'll be completely vindicated, and yeah, we'll see how that based on the charges against him. That's easier said than done. Also, we're going to talk about this in more detail this morning. Florida sheriff has published a video for public embarrassment. This is after a boy threatened violence at school. And it came out with a powerful message over the weekend saying that if I can do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid. He said, this is out of control. This school violence and the reports and threats and so on. And he said, this is absolutely out of control, and it ends now. 54 and counting tips came into Fortify, Florida last night, okay? That means investigators in the school district have been running around the clock to investigate these tips, which are all turning out to be false. People are making these false tips. And he's telling parents to do their job. It's pretty powerful. We'll talk about that in more detail coming up this morning. And that's a look at the big stories this morning here on Kello. And I'm glad you're along for the ride. Thanks so much for being here. 628, mostly cloudy and 71. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show. This portion brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Weeknights 5 to 8. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Okay, we've got trending stories coming up. To give you a little bit more of a comprehensive look at big stories that are going on this morning. I'm going to move this. I went too long in that segment.
A partner who believes in getting better every single day. Together, we're not just building roofs, we're building a legacy of betterment for generations to come. Here's to the future where we continue to get better together.
There we go.
Here's to reaching the top. Call us today, 996-864.
Has embodied the American spirit with the family farmer. Year after year, they continue to work the land and plant their crops. Through droughts, floods, and uncertain markets, they
See what Joe's got going on in the newsroom. 6:30, mostly cloudy, 71 at Kello. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com News Center. Headlines on the way here at Kello.
Fox News with Chris Foster. Former President Trump says it was very nice of Vice President Harris to call him yesterday to ask if he was okay after a second assassination attempt.
They think race car driving is dangerous? No. They think bull riding, that's pretty scary, right? No. This is a dangerous business, so we have to keep it safe.
Trump there at a campaign event in Flint, Michigan. Harris at a National Association of Black Journalists event in Philadelphia, condemning false claims by Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance that Haitian migrants are eating pets in Ohio.
When you have these positions, when you have that kind of microphone in front of you, you really ought to understand at a very deep level how much your words have meaning.
Vice President Harris addresses the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Leadership Conference today, and former President Trump has a campaign rally tonight on Long Island, New York, and Uniondale. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Senator John Thune yesterday spoke on the Senate floor about the importance of passing the National Defense Authorization Act. Thune says national security must come first.
Perhaps the most important thing we do here in Congress is to provide for our nation's defense. If we don't get national security right, the rest is conversation. Everything else we do in government and our very existence as a nation depends on our getting security right.
Thune noted that Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has spent the last several months holding show votes on bills that are designed to score political points but not become law, and has prioritized them over national defense. Another South Dakotan school has been threatened on social media. This time, Belfrage Middle School was put on lockdown yesterday after an anonymous threat on Snapchat was made. Police searched every building in the school and determined there was no credible threat. Belfrage PD continues to monitor the situation. The National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning for parts of central and southwest South Dakota. A combination of gusty winds and low relative humidity are producing critical fire weather conditions in that region. The Secretary of State's office is offering some help if you're looking for ways to study up on all of the South Dakota ballot measures. A ballot question pamphlet offers pro and con information on each measure, as well as contact information for sponsors and opponents. The pamphlet is available on the Secretary of State's website, which also includes sample ballots. We have links at kello.com. And the Minnesota Twins evened up their series against the Cleveland Guardians with a 4-1 victory at Progressive Field last night. Willie Castro knocked a 2-run homer in the 8th. Cole Sands earned his 9th win in relief.
Okay.
Jacks picked up his 9th save. The two teams face off in Game 3 tonight. From the Kello.com.
So coming up this morning, I really wanted to share more of this. Turn the monitor down here a bit. This Florida sheriff published a video, and he's telling parents to do their job. This was at a news conference over the weekend. And he said that his department has been inundated with hoax school shooting threats. And that his office has spent $21,000 already investigating these reports. And so he started his actual comments, I think, are worth sharing. And we'll talk about this in more detail coming up later in the program. He said, this is absolutely out of control, and it ends now. 54 and counting tips came into Fortify, Florida last night, okay? That means investigators in the school district have been running around the clock to investigate these tips, which are all turning out to be false. So far, it's cost $21,000 to do these investigations. We have 2 in custody. We have an investigation looking at one other individual. And this goes on. He said, so what we're going to do starting Monday is, since parents, you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. Every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put out there. And if I can do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid so that everybody can see what your kid's up to. The second point is, if I can, find out that a parent knew what was going on and wasn't doing anything, your ass is getting perp walked with them. He said, we're going to show you every kid that's been arrested and where they go to school. And then from there on out, we're going to publicly shame them and their parents. So parents, do your job. Don't let Sheriff Chitwood raise your kids. This is absolutely ridiculous. Go talk to the families who have lost a loved one in a school shooting. These little knuckleheads think it's funny. Go talk to those parents and see how funny this is. It's not. We're going to come and get you, and we're going to put you out for public embarrassment. So he's saying this not only of the students, but he's saying it to parents. We're going to put you out there. If we find out that you knew about this, we are going to put you out there. So we're going to talk about that in more detail, and I'm really, really eager to get your reaction to that. It's pretty incredible. So I've got several stories regarding this. Basically the message to parents is do your job. There's one other story I wanted to share here. Hold on a moment. Let me get this set up, and there we go. I just shake my head at this. Amazon workers plan on soft quitting after the CEO says they've got to return to the office 5 days a week. Now, remember, companies really went wild with this during COVID, that you didn't need to come to the office and so on, and so companies had these policies that maybe you only would have to show up at the office for 2 days or 3 days a week, depending. And so now he's saying you got to return to the office 5 days a week. And these folks, apparently some are workers, are angry about it. The one frustrated employee said, 3 years at Amazon currently, probably going to soft quit and get a new job. And I'm just like, fire their ass. I mean, are you kidding? Fire them. Just absolutely fire them. It's absolute nonsense. Just crazy. So hopefully we can talk about that this morning as well. Got those among things in my stack of stuff this morning that we'll be talking about later on in the program. All right, we'll get to stories that are trending here in just a few moments. I want to take a moment and please ask you to hit the like button. Those of you who are watching, I appreciate it very much. So hit that like button if you would. Appreciate your comments, whether it's on, what I'm doing in this. Basically, this is just the radio show. I hope you'll join me at 9:30, where it's more of an engagement than with the folks that are watching via YouTube. Very much appreciated. So the fourth hour will be coming up at 9:30. We do that every weekday morning. All right, back to work. See, you can't hear the awesome bumpers. That's why I'm dancing around here. 6:39, mostly cloudy and 71. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Number of stories trending this morning revolving around Donald Trump and the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And Trump, at his first campaign event since Sunday's attempt, said the He said only consequential presidents get shot at, Trump said. And he sat down for a town hall event with Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. This was in front of a crowd in Flint, Michigan. And he talked about the decline of the automotive industry in the Detroit and Flint area. And he said the U.S. needs to manufacture more vehicles in this country instead of in Mexico and China. And then he promised the crowd that his administration would put a 200% tariff on vehicles manufactured outside of the U.S. And Trump said they think they're going to make their cars there and they're going to sell them across our line and we're going to take them and we're not going to charge them tax. We're going to charge them. I'm telling you right now, we're putting a 200% tariff on them, which means they're unsellable. And then he said, and then you wonder why I get shot at. He said, only consequential presidents get shot at. But you have to do what you have to do. You have to be brave. Otherwise, you're not going to have a country left, Trump said. Also, Donald Trump thanked the sheriff's deputies that captured the Ryan Routh, the most recent assassination attempt on Trump's life. So TMZ says Trump appeared to be high on life when he greeted Martin County Sheriff William D. Snyder, and not to be confused with D. Snyder, but William Snyder and his deputies at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. He shook their hands, said words of encouragement to each one, all of whom helped bring in Ryan Routh. And TMZ says Trump was clearly feeling good after surviving his second assassination attempt of the year, as he quipped to the group, "I'm still here." He then asked Sheriff Snyder to point out his best deputy, with the lawman singling out one young man standing at the end of the line. Trump gave a nod of acknowledgement and joked that he didn't think Snyder would actually pick a favorite. So, excuse me, Trump having some fun with law enforcement, showing his appreciation for their quick capture of Ryan Routh. Also, Donald Trump's golf partner was on Hannity's program Monday night. Steve Witkoff, who is a New York real estate investor, said he was playing golf with Trump on Sunday afternoon when Trump was evacuated after the shots rang out. And he said, now again, the interview was Monday. He said, yesterday was quite a day. I actually feel blessed that I was there yesterday. And the reason I felt blessed, Sean, is that I got to see what it's like for my dear friend to live his normal life. His normal life, which is punctuated by 2 attempts to assassinate him in the last 60 days, being vilified since he left the presidency, falsely accused and harassed. He said, here he was on a beautiful day, just trying to get some rest and relaxation like all of us. And there's a man with an assault rifle who's attempting to kill him. It was terrible. But I got to see a man who was stoic, courageous, cared about his friends' safety first before his own life, was an inspiration to everybody who was around him yesterday, again, Sunday. I wish the whole country could have witnessed what happened, because they would have seen a real leader, he said, of Trump. And that story is trending. Trending stories generally run a few days behind actual events. So a lot of this, some of these things you've heard me report on previously. Also, there's a story trending about why the Secret Service did not do a full sweep of the golf course. These were comments made by the head of the Secret Service, Ronald Rowe Jr. He held a press briefing then in Florida on Monday, and there are a lot of questions. Why didn't they do a full sweep of the golf course before this? And he said it wasn't part of his schedule. So there was no posting up of it because he wasn't supposed to have gone there, he said. I have a hard time believing that. He's golfing with a friend. He wasn't supposed to have gone there. He's golfing with a friend. What, that was not arranged? That was not. I did have a really hard time believing anything that comes out of the mouths of Ronald Rowe, Secret Service, the management of Secret Service. And that's what's so frustrating. Also, Ryan Routh, you may have seen, and again, this story is several days old. I've seen it. It's trending this morning. He presented himself online as a man who built housing for homeless people in Hawaii, tried to recruit fighters for Ukraine, and then described his support and then his disdain for Donald Trump, and he urged Iran to kill him. And in a self-published book in 2023, he said of Iran, "You are free to assassinate Trump," he said. Described Trump as a fool and a buffoon for the Capitol riot and the tremendous blunder of leaving the Iran nuclear deal. He also wrote that he once voted for Trump and he must take part of the blame for the child that we elected for our next president that ended up being brainless. I think it's Mr. Routh who is, in his behavior, that's pretty alarming, pretty concerning. So he had also filed the serial number off his gun. He was banned from owning guns. I shared that news with you here within the last few days. So he was arraigned then in federal court on Monday, and the Wall Street Journal reported the serial number was at least partially obliterated on the weapon, making it hard to track the weapon and determine when he actually got it. You've got former neighbors of the Routh family saying that the entire family is weird. They kept a live horse in the house. Among the many stories out there regarding the Routh family. Also trending this morning, Hillary Clinton made some remarks after Ryan Routh was arrested. By the way, I think it's worth repeating, he was a Democrat donor, political donor. He had given pretty regularly to Democrats. Yes, he did vote for Donald Trump, but he's got a long record. And then there are those that just want to hide that. They want to hide that news that this guy actually was a Democrat political donor. And they're trying to make it sound like he was a far right, deranged Trump supporter. Like a number of Democrats, he did vote for Donald Trump the first time around. But his record is pretty clear in what he's been saying and doing ever since. Anyway, Hillary Clinton is trending because of comments that she made on Monday She said, I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. She's talking to Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. Keep in mind, this is the day after the assassination attempt. And she's out there saying, why is it so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is? Wow. And then she went on. It's not worth repeating. It's insulting and alarming, I think. Donald Trump also, there's one final story involving Donald Trump this morning. He has promised that he would get SALT back if he is elected, he said. So he made the promise in a Truth Social post, and he's trying to court voters in New York then to vote for him. He said, vote for Trump. I will turn it around, get SALT back, lower your taxes, and so much more, Trump said. So Trump lost New York by more than 20-point margins in both 2016 and the 2020 elections. So asked for clarification on Trump's social media post, specifically whether he is vowing to end the SALT cap that he signed into law. The campaign did not provide an answer, says CNBC. Again, these trending stories are coming from a variety of different sources, and I find them all at freespoke.com. Also, the Teamsters president met with Vice President Kamala Harris at the Teamsters Union headquarters in Washington, D.C. Sean O'Brien said, we talked about Teamster issues, but he did not endorse a candidate after meeting with Kamala Harris. Also, the CEO of Amazon requiring workers to return to the office full time. In a note that was published Monday, the CEO of Amazon, he took over from Jeff Bezos in 2020. He said the move to end the company's hybrid model was designed, well, a lot of this is, it just gets into it. They toss up we want to deliver the absolute best for customers and for the business. That's what he's saying. So in other words, you've got to return to the office full time. And there are stories that are trending. Employees are not reacting well to that. It is, all right, fine. Fire them. They don't want to return to work. You're done. Good luck finding another job. Just amazes me the way people respond. As if you have a right not to go into the office. Where does that come from? Somebody's got to explain that to me. That's what we're talking about, I think, this morning. Somebody has to explain where does that come from, that thinking that you do not have to go into the office. Now, again, I'm not talking about somebody who owns their own business or what have you. You work for somebody else and you don't think you ought to have to go into the office despite your employer saying, you got to come into the office. That's like conversation over, isn't it? It is in my world, I guess. Also, Instagram is introducing separate teen accounts for those under the age of 18. Instagram's trying to make the platform safer for children. Been a lot of backlash against how social media affects young children in particular. I think good reason for that. So Instagram is making teen accounts private by default as they're trying to make the platform safer for children. This began yesterday in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Anyone under 18 who signs up for Instagram will be placed into restrictive teen accounts, and those with existing accounts will be migrated over the next 60 days. Also, Republicans blocked a Democrat-backed bill on in vitro fertilization from proceeding yesterday. It's already failed in the Senate. So the bill failed to garner the 60 votes necessary. And the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced he was scheduling an additional vote on the measure. And that fight is continuing. It's another political fight being waged by the Democrats. Democrats in Washington who are trying to push this. And it's much ado about nothing, I in my opinion. Also, the FBI says they're investigating suspicious packages sent to election officials in at least 8 states. FBI and U.S. Postal Service announced this yesterday. No immediate reports that any of the packages contained hazardous material, but they were sent to elections officials again in 8 different states. The Missouri Secretary of State's Elections Division received a suspicious package from an unknown source. So it was among the many that were sent out. Also, the chief executive officer who piloted the Titan submersible that was going to explore the Titanic disaster. You remember it imploded underwater last year. It was the chief executive officer who was piloting that. And we're learning now he had once crashed another submersible into a shipwreck. And when a tearful passenger begged him to let another pilot take over, he got angry, threw down the controls, and so he was the head of marine operations at Ocean Gate until he was fired in 2018. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by my friends at the Window Shop of Metro, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Comes at you pretty fast. Well,
I want to thank you very much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. I appreciate it very much. Please hit the like button. I'd appreciate that too. Hope to see you again next time. So long. See you again soon.